Birdeye, for those of you who don't know us, we are an agentic marketing platform which is built just for multi-location brands, similar to those we see in the senior living industry. So any industry which has a lot of locations, we have a platform which basically provides an agentic marketing workflow for that. And I'm here today, I'm going to talk a little bit about when AI answers first, which is really a session where I want to share a little bit of what we are seeing in terms of what's happening to marketing as a whole. We sit at this intersection of AI and marketing, and what we're seeing in terms of changes to what's happening with marketing and what that means for the senior living industry. So in terms of the arc of what I want to cover, I'll start a little bit by how the world is changing, a little bit of what we're seeing in trends, what it means for the senior living industry, and then we'll go into what would great look like in this future when we're able to actually deliver and use agentic marketing for the senior living industry. And then towards the end, I'll talk a little bit about where are the gaps or leaks in the bucket as we see them today in the senior living industry and what you could do to fix them. So that's going to be kind of the narrative arc of my conversation today. But before I get started, just a quick show of hands. Who has used AI tools in the last couple of months for doing some kind of purchase research? Awesome. Who here knows what AI says about your communities? Okay, way fewer, right? That's not surprising, and knowing exactly what AI says is going to be important, to know what AI says about your communities, because the shift is already here. When you think about the marketing playbook, which many multi-location industries were built on, including senior living, that's dramatically changing. We're in the midst of this change where people are looking more and more to AI tools, and AI tools are also creating a level of opportunity in what you can get out of your marketing tools. So the first kind of big trend and shift is that, we all know this. Most of you guys put your hand up for researching products and services. Of course, we're all using it, so are your customers, right? And you all know already that 70% of your senior living decision makers are actually the kids of the residents in your communities. And those are the people who are extensively using AI tools already. In fact, Gen X is most likely to go straight from Google to actually start using ChatGPT the same way as Google. So people are starting in AI tools today, asking questions like, what is the nearest community which feels like home, right? Those kind of questions are popping up in ChatGPT. The second thing which we're also seeing, this is connected to what's happening with AI tools, is web traffic is falling, right? This is being seen not just in senior living, across the industry. People are seeing that those clicks are vanishing because users are actually doing the research in the AI tools and making the choices in that. So it's a little bit of become a black box. People don't always end up on your site. They might see what they see in ChatGPT and give you a call or try to schedule an appointment directly. So what happens is there's AI starting to replace some of these clicks. And what that means is the SEO model that you had built on, where you were trying to just make sure that things show up on Google, it's important still, it's still a big part, but it's not sufficient, because we're in this shift as you see more and more AI answers driving decisions. The third one, I think, which we're all pretty much aware of, is this cost of acquisition, right? Trying to get someone through the funnel in whatever industry you're in is getting more and more expensive. And now that we know the AI tools are going to allow you to have ads, and we've all seen this, ads and ads about not having ads in AI. So there's a lot of talk in the industry, but when that does happen, they expect those to be very, very high, the ads that you can see inside these AI tools. So what does that mean? The cost to acquire is much higher, which means the experience has just become that much more important. You want to be able to turn the people who are your fans and who have had a great experience, they need to be your advocates. And because everyone who comes through the funnel you need to make sure they can help you keep the flywheel moving. So while all these changes are happening across the board, senior living gets hit harder. And why is that, right? The first thing is, these are actually high stakes emotional decisions, right? This is not about like making the purchase that we all do casually. This is, there's a lot of research which goes into it. There is a lot of information that people are trying to collect before they make a decision. But AI is actually influencing this in a big way. And I think we've probably all seen it, like AI has a way of structuring information which makes it more believable. It's like this over-enthusiastic MBA grad, right? Like where you see the way information is presented makes it very convincing, look very convincing. So people tend to be more convinced by what AI answers say. And when you don't, it's not like a Google results page, right? When it provides this beautifully laid out like narrative and says, hey, this community is okay, but if you want something more homely, check out this other community. Bam. If you were the first community, you've kind of lost their mind share because it might have picked up some signal from a review or a posting which it saw and made some judgments and presented them in a way which just convinced the user that, you know, one place is more homely than the other. So you need to make sure that we're in those conversations and we have, it's not a thin layer in AI, that there's depth for your communities when AI shows up your answers. The second part here, I think we're all familiar with this. Usually the buyer is an adult child, it's usually the oldest daughter, and this person is usually building a shortlist alone, right? So you need to make sure you're influencing this person and you're personalizing in any kind of conversations with them. Generic emails and generic kind of follow-ups are just not good enough anymore, right? And the third one is the multi-location reality. Even though you might be a big brand, the reality of how your brand shows up is the location that the user knows. So your weakest community becomes your biggest liability. You might have the best communities across the board, but if the one which is closest to the customer or the resident has a bad reputation, that really hurts them, right? But all of this is couched in this massive opportunity at the same time, right? Because, you know, we all heard this week too, baby boomers are turning 80, and that means that there's tremendous opportunity, but it also does not guarantee that, you know, opportunity will translate into movements. It needs to be earned. So let's start with maybe a story to bring this to life and how this could work beautifully in the world of AI, right? Let's take the story of like Jennifer and her brother Mike. They are trying to find a place for their mother who's had a fall recently, and they're making one of the biggest decisions of their life, right? And like everyone else in this room, the first thing Jennifer does is actually pull out her phone and start, as they're having the conversation, start to research what are the communities which are nearby where they live, where you know, this is for their mother, so they want to see if it feels like home, it's warm, and she types in a few kind of descriptive phrases and types it into ChatGPT. And what shows up, and we're looking at this, you know, made up senior living community. It's in Scottsdale, Arizona. You get this like ChatGPT response with some pictures, which talks about, you know, it's one of the most trusted communities in Scottsdale. And, you know, she's very intrigued. There's lots of good content on ChatGPT. While it lists a bunch of places, the Sunrise Living is popping up at the top. So she's intrigued. And then she goes on to check out, you know, on Google. This is what we do, right? Like when we see something listed on ChatGPT today, you want to learn more, you pop it in Google and say, what can I learn? The business listings page, lots of stars, lots of detail about the community, and also you see the reviews all showing some like, you know, very good content, and, you know, it makes her more interested. Then she goes out and checks out the Facebook page, right? Because there was a link to the Facebook page on the Google listing. And, you know, she finds these beautiful pictures, right? Of pictures of residents having maybe a birthday party, some kind of celebration. It starts to feel like the kind of place that Jennifer can see her mom actually spending time and actually feeling at home at. She places a call, she maybe sends in an email, but these are not decisions you're making on the fly. You are in a consideration phase. But what would be amazing at this point is when she receives a very personalized email from that community, which actually mentions, hey, we know you visited or made an inquiry to our Scottsdale, Arizona location. We're having a tour and a tea time. You're welcome to come check it out. She's more inclined to go check it out because it feels personalized. Now, doing all of these kind of activities can help her to kind of go check out, make that tour, and you have someone who's actually now engaged with you, and you have a much better chance of actually converting them. Yes, they still need to love the property needs to be amazing, there's so many more things which need to happen, but now you actually have someone doing that tour, which is such a big step in engaging with your community. Now, being able to do this, not just for one community, but say 10s or 50 or 100 of those, that's what's hard. This level of personalization, being able to provide all this content, being able to have it constantly updated. You cannot have stale content. When you have stale content, reviews are stale, or when your content on Facebook is stale, AI picks all that, right? Like the most reviewed and the most engaged properties are the ones which are going to show up as like, hey, there's lots happening in this particular community. How do you do this at scale when your marketing teams, which actually manage this work, are probably like 5 people, 10 people, maybe sometimes even 2 or 3 people doing all of this? And this is where, even though AI is disrupting the kind of playbook, it is also the solution. This is where agentic platforms, and I'll talk a little bit about Birdeye here, can come in and provide the kind of leverage and scale that is hard to do with a small marketing team. So how do we do this, right? So Birdeye, a quick brief on us. We are an agentic marketing platform, and you'll see us on the G2 awards as like the most kind of highly rated agentic marketing platform for multi-location brands, which goes across many industries. And the reason we are so highly ranked is it's twofold. The first thing is we are what we call ourselves a full cycle platform, which means when you think about the journey of a customer going from like awareness, conversion, and experience, and you think about communities having this path for residents learning about your community, engaging with them, and actually making them advocates, we provide tools for that entire flywheel of that marketing flywheel. So that's the first piece. The second one, agentic. Everybody's agentic now. Like you and I can start a company tomorrow. We can vibe code and create AI, right? It's that easy, or they make it sound that easy. But we have a differentiated approach, and I'll talk about it a little bit. But the 2 things I want you to take away about us and how we're differentiated is the fact that we are a full cycle platform and we do agentic in a different way. The full cycle, like I mentioned, we have tools for managing reviews and listings, and Search AI is a product we launched to help you manage your AI presence. So the part where I talked about, are you showing up? Is your community showing up when someone searches for, what feels like home in a community close to Scottsdale, Arizona? We have tools to do the research for you and tell you how you stack rank in that. We also recently launched a marketing automation tool, which plugs in with the rest of the information you have, so you can actually communicate with prospects as well as your residents and their families. And then the last piece is around experience. We do surveys, referrals, and this is the part about how do you turn great experiences into advocates for you, both online as well as offline, right? And when I talk about the agentic approach, I won't go too much into it, but I'll give you a quick brief on why our agentic approach is different, right? The whole point at the end of the day is about driving outcomes. And we have this mnemonic or device we use. We call it like CTAs to drive outcomes. As marketers, we all know CTAs drive outcomes. But for us in the agentic approach, what that means is the way we do this, first is we consolidate all of your data into a single profile. So it doesn't matter where the data sits. We all have different CRMs. We all have different appointment scheduling systems. Reviews are in one place. We pull all of that together to stitch a profile. Whether or not you use Birdeye's tools for all these different functions, we pull them all, stitch them into a profile, which unifies that prospect or resident data into one place for you. The second, and the second part to it is we can think locally, right? What does that mean? We've been in the multi-location business for about 13 years now. And what that means is for each industry, we deeply understand what semantics work. How do you use phrases? So what you say in like a regulated industry, like say financial services versus the probably most human-centric industry, which is senior living, needs to be very different. And we have all the data to help our AI agents be able to pick out what industry and what kind of style to use. And it shows up not just in the industry tone, we can understand your brand. If your brand has a particular leaning, we encode that so that whatever communication our AI agents put out is very much in your brand's voice and does not feel like a robot talking. And the third thing in think part is that the memory, right? Given we can connect all of these, the transaction, the history of engagement that your residents have had or the residents' families or prospects have had, we can stitch it all together so that now you can see when this person first engaged with you, what tour did they do, where did they leave a review, when did you last reach them, did they respond to an email, all of it in one place. And now come the agents, because agents by themselves are just, they're only as good as the information you feed them. Think of it a little bit like when you go into ChatGPT and just type something, you're going to get a response. You always get a response. ChatGPT is never going to say, I don't know the answer. But when you give it more context, when you give it more data, the response is better. It is more tuned. That's what we're doing. At the end of the day, we provide a lot more context than any other system, and it's tuned for your industry and your brand and your user, your resident and your prospect, so that whatever content comes out or whatever email that you're engaging with the prospect or whatever review response that's being generated not just feels, but drives better outcomes for you. So that's in a nutshell what we do. But what I'd like to do is to go back to, we talked about what an ideal scenario looked like where Jennifer was able to learn more about the Sunrise community in Scottsdale, Arizona through ChatGPT, and then she saw great reviews on Facebook and on Google. But that's not the reality today, right? Most communities that are being operated, it's broken in one place or the other. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about the three big leaks that I see, right? And the leaks are actually happening in awareness, in conversion, and in the experience. So to start with, the first thing is, if AI can't recommend you, you're not in the picture, right? And we talked about this. Families start on GPT, and if you're not citable, if you don't show up on the list, you are not going to be considered. The second thing is, they find you, but they don't convert. And usually this comes up to, there's a thin review layer, people don't, AI doesn't understand you well enough, it just mentions you in passing. It kills your credibility. It kills the ability for your prospects to more deeply engage with you. And that's the part about the leaky conversion funnel. And having strong reviews alone is not sufficient, right? Whatever engagement you have, it needs to be much more personalized. And that's kind of a big opportunity as well as a gap in this, the conversion leak. And the third leak, I would say, is one about experience, right? You are creating amazing experience that is not creating advocates, right? If you leave people to just themselves for any product or service, the only thing that will show up online are usually people who are unhappy with something, because that moves us more as humans to like respond than when you're just happy with something. Very few people actually proactively do that. So how do you turn great experiences into advocates for you, not just online, but when AI goes crawling through all these sites and tries to form a profile about your community, it's able to pick up the great experiences that people have had in your communities. And so let's start with the first one, right? So AI can recommend you. This is probably one of the most common ones because the marketing playbook has been built around doing SEO, and classic SEO will get you ranked on Google, but to show up on AI you need citations, right? You need to be cited by third party, on Reddit. There needs to be conversations happening. It's going to pick up reviews and see, are you responding to reviews? So there's a whole piece of work which needs to be done focused on AI search. And what the approach Birdeye takes to this is that threefold. First is we have a product called Search AI, which does exactly this. We understand what are all the terms and phrases that are being used, similar to how SEO is done, but in the context of AI. How are you showing up in that word cloud? And what do you need to do, more importantly, what do you need to do to show up when certain phrases are being used to search for your communities? And in some cases, the agents themselves will actually create the content for you. So that's the first piece with Search AI. Second one is we have a listings management tool. We also have a reviews tool, which helps you manage all of these listings and reviews in one place. And the third part is the AI agent I mentioned about, which can actually create content, which could be blogs and content which needs to show up on third-party sites so that you can be cited when prospects come searching for those communities. So the first bucket is very much about, AI can recommend you and how can you get better at showing up on these tools. The second one is, your prospects find you, but they cannot convert, right? And this usually has a combination of either you have a lag in response, you're not responding fast enough, or it's very impersonal. Maybe you have like when someone engages with you, they go into this funnel of like a prospect and they get a generic email. Yeah, maybe there's a mention of a location, but doesn't feel personalized. I think as customers for every service on the planet, we've all come to expect highly personalized experiences. We engage more when something speaks to us, and even more so in a high stakes, human-centric industry like senior living, where you want to be very personalized in how you engage with your prospects. And we have a couple of products. Birdeye approaches this in a couple of ways. The first is the review response agent. It's something which we have that will help you respond to reviews in your voice and tone for your industry and in a personalized fashion, so that you see the engagement, the prospect feels engaged, but also again you're sending signals that you are a highly engaged community. I talked about marketing automation. It's one of the recently launched products we have that creates emails for you which are personalized by customer and by location. So that when I talked about that CTA model of driving outcomes, we're actually able to take the information about the prospect, what location they visited, and fine tune it so that the engagement that they have, it's much more personal than a generic marketing automation email. The third leak is that, are you making sure that your experience is creating advocates? And a lot of times the answer is no. And the problem here is that there are blind spots in your pipeline, which basically means that move-ins don't go to you, they might end up with your competitors. And the way to address this, we have a couple of approaches here as well. The first product we have is an insights product, which we can actually pick up a lot of insights from all of your reviews and all of the content online and be able to recommend operational changes that you need to make. And we have a ticketing product which it's integrated with, so that you can create tickets in your system so that if one community has a particular issue, you can address it right away. If it's like response time, you can create a ticket and make sure that that community manager receives that information to take action on it. The second part about how do you make sure you are really able to talk up the amazing experience your residents are having. You want to make sure you are generating reviews. You're getting people to actually engage with you in a way and telling their stories, because at the end of the day, that feeds AI and that feeds the flywheel more than just pure marketing. So those are kind of the kind of 3 leaks, and I know I'm running out of time and I want to leave it open for some questions. I'll quickly go over what does a 30-day playbook look like, right, if we have to go about and start trying this out. The first thing is you want to get your AI citations right. So start with thinking about how do you get your AI citation basics right, what kind of tools do you want to use so that your communities are showing up in AI results. The second one is how do you publish the content? Are you maybe find a way that agents can actually help you create all this content and keep refreshing them so that you are cited with the most relevant and recent content. The third one is build your reputation system, right? Make sure you're using reviews and like a response approach to reviews, which actually makes your brand stand up and show up strongly when AI searches for you. And the last one is, make sure that there is speed in your systems, right? And this is beyond even what can be done through marketing tools. Is operationally, are you able to execute at a pace which actually shows that you're engaged and you are able to like tell the story that the great experiences your residents are having. And the best way to do all of this, 4 weeks is a short period of time. Maybe pick 1 or 2 communities, pick your best performing one, pick your worst performing one, and try out like an approach to see where and how are you able to see the results. But I think fundamentally the operating model needs to change towards one where you're consolidating data from different places and creating like stitched profiles. You are thinking locally for each community in each place, and you're leveraging the power of AI with using agents to act for you. So even though AI is changing the kind of marketing playbook, you also have these opportunities to do amazing things with AI that we should leverage. And all of that should be driving more outcomes for you. So yeah, so when AI answers first, who does it recommend? It's the community that is citable, it is trusted, and shows up fast. And that community could be yours. Thank you so much for your time.